Coming up next on the Jeff Crilley Show, you're going to meet an executive coach who works with companies and organizations all over the planet, helping employees find their why. We'll explain next.
Many are predicting that the worst is yet to come, which is unfortunate, said one person here. Until now, they've enjoyed the reputation of being the nation's icebox.
Watched a burglar in his home this morning by webcam.
As a journalist of over 25 years, stories are what make my world turn.
Reporting live from the Dallas newsroom tonight, Jeff Crilley, Fox 4 News.
But in 2008, I took the jump from my familiar life and started a PR firm from my home.
We're talking about anyone with a camcorder like the one I'm using becomes a television network.
We started slowly growing the company, and we now have over 100 clients, and we've branched into the world of live digital broadcasting. I now own 8 different TV studios and have a huge team, and the stories that I now get to share are sometimes the most important of my life. Life has a funny way of coming around full circle. This is the Jeff Crilley Show.
So I'm the tail end of the baby boomers. I'm 61 years old, and when I was coming up, the boss was pretty much like, it's my way or the highway. His reason for ordering you to do something was because I said so. Well, that doesn't really play well with the Gen Zs and the Millennials, and that's why they bring in executive coaches like my next guest. Julian Sado is in the studio. He's a speaker, author, NLP practitioner, and behavioral coach. That's a lot of titles.
A lot of titles, yes. I'll take them all, too. Yes.
All right, well, let's give them a little bit of background, because you haven't always been an executive coach.
Right.
You've actually, you remind me of Forrest Gump. You've been in so many different places. So start at the beginning. What was your first career?
Yeah, first career was Hollywood. I was a talent agent. So I grew up in Hollywood. So my family was already very well involved in Hollywood. So becoming a talent agent seemed natural. I had a record deal, didn't pan out very well. But then I got into talent agent because my cousin was a famous rapper. So I ended up traveling and getting involved with him. And I was hired by a company to actually cast people for music, videos, and also concerts. So I worked with Prince, Madonna, Janet Jackson, and all these people. And it was a mind-blowing experience because you always act like you know what you're doing. So you just figured it out as you did. So that's how I started. That was my first place.
Okay, then boxing.
Yeah, so boxing was one of the biggest challenges because I grew up in a very dysfunctional family. So I ended up getting into boxing because I actually had a very bad experience with my father, who pulled a shotgun on me because I ditched school. And I used to get my butt kicked all day long. I grew up in East LA. I'm African American, but I look Hispanic. So in those days, there was a big problem with that. So I ended up taking up boxing because it was the only way to survive. I had to learn how to fight. And when I did that, I ended up learning how behavior starts with how you think of yourself, not how other people think of you. They pick up what you feel. So I ended up walking the streets more confidently, which means I got less beatings. But when I left the entertainment industry, Billy Blank had just started Taibo. And I went to take a boxing class to kind of break away from the crowd that I was in to get back into something I was familiar with. And unfortunately, Billy Blank and his team didn't show up, so I ended up teaching and ended up building a very, very successful boxing business, who actually took me to Japan and worked with a lot of people all over the globe on teaching boxing programs, which got me into Hollywood again, focusing on fight coordinating and training and that stuff. So that's how I got involved in that.
Okay, and then is next your financial career?
Yeah, Forrest Gump, open the box, right? So actually, when I got married, the church I was going to was so conservative, where they saw what I was doing in fitness, and to them, it was against family values. So I ended up saying, well, what do I do? And it was a message from God when I got audited, so I ended up learning finance. And so I got involved in finance, and that was when I ended up meeting Jim Rohn, and went through a major mental shift in my brain. I didn't know what was going on, but I went from wearing sweat clothes to ties, talking to people about death. So you can imagine, I had Lenny Kravitz to Jennifer Lopez, the people I would call, because they make you call everybody when you get say, hey, you should buy life insurance. So I lost all my friends, pretty much all my family, which is a great thing if you have a dysfunctional family. If you want to break away from them, become a life agent. So
then executive coaching, how did that happen?
Well, and when I met Jim Rohn really got me involved in neurolinguistic programming, and he really helped me understand how my brain was sabotaging my success, because I was so used to how I was feeling. I was always feeling like I was behind the curve or I was lost. So even when I had the opportunity to be unlost, I went back to those same behaviors that made me feel more like me. So I felt like I wasn't myself in the world that I said I wanted to be. So when I got into NLP and behavioral science, it was really because Jim Rohn really asked me to look inside. He gave me this quote that I always carry with me. Is like, why do bears hibernate in the winter? And I gave him all these reasons. He had me write them down, actually. And I actually gave him a list, from it being cold to there's no food. And he was like, they're just bears. They don't think about it. He goes, you have the choice to choose how you want to think. But right now, you're acting like a bear. You're just acting instinctively and not really counting the cost of those actions. So learn how you work, and then you'll learn everything else after that. And so that's how I got in behavioral science and NLP. But it was always instinctive in me because I grew up in a very dysfunctional area. So I became very aware of other people's behaviors, but I didn't take reflection of my own until I met Jim Rohn.
Wow, that's incredible.
Yeah.
And he is kind of like the father of motivational speaking, and worked with Tony Robbins and so many others. Let's go ahead and scroll down Julian's website, because I'm just so impressed with what you've put together. You do executive coaching, you do keynote speaking. What are some other services you offer?
Well, I have a inner circle. So I have it's a global inner circle. So I have people from all over the globe. Some are multi-billionaires, some are millionaires, some are just frontline employees, some make literally $100 a month. But no one thinks about that. So we talk about behavior, we talk about the little nuances about life and how things are working, and how we perceive life. So I have that as one of my biggest things. I love that because it gives me a lot of intel about the psyche globally. So that's one of the things I have. And then the coaching is really that's part of my coaching, is part of the inner coaching that I do. So that's probably the most things that I do now. And I do some consulting with companies. I'm what we call now strategist. So a strategist actually is the consultant, but instead of people hiring people to do the job, they hire a strategist to come in and set it up and then reverse engineer the steps and then keep coming back every quarter, implementing change and those types of things. So I work with a lot of companies on their onboarding, their sales development, their leadership development, and basically just how they implement it in their LOS system.
Well, I love how all of these things that you did in your career help you make good decisions and coach people to the next level.
Yeah.
We found a great sizzle reel. I think you put this together a couple of years ago. Let's go ahead and roll that.
Mirror what we feel other people's intentions are, unless you're subconsciously aware that you will always mirror other people's actions.
So impressed. We talked at the beginning of the show about Gen Zs. They are a different type of employee. I mean, I remember, growing up, and the mantra was, life is not a bowl of cherries. You earn it, you pay your dues, you probably start at the bottom. And a lot of Gen Zs, and I'm not trying to bag on Gen Zs, but a lot of them are coming out saying, okay, when do I get the corner office? How many vacation days do I get? So it's important for bosses to understand how to adapt to the new generation. And you have an amazing workbook that people can actually get for free off of your website.
Yes.
Let's go ahead and put it on the screen, and it's called the Gen Z Pivot.
Yes.
So tell us about this book.
This is one of my basically my passions. Because I've been an observer of people my whole life, I see a shift in the culture that has never taken place. I mean, never. We are now a global economy. You don't compete with your local competitor. You compete globally. And so what I'm trying to get people to just recognize is get a bigger, broad picture of what's happening globally with our psyche. So to your point, speaking about the fact that we have people that are wanting the corner office after they just get here, say, a week ago. Well, they've been sold on YouTube that, hey, it takes 3 steps and you can have exactly what I have, right? So it's the mindset is about, if I do these quick things fast, I'll have what I want quickly. That is not just in Gen Z, but our culture is shifting that too, because YouTube is the #1 venue watched. Compare, if you could take TikTok, any of these things, like even channel, regular TV, Fox, CNN, you can take Hulu, Netflix, all of them combined. YouTube outperforms all of them. And that is the #1 venue watched today is YouTube. We look, and those commercials that run on YouTube are sales pitches about how life is really easy now. And in some ways it is. Getting your message out is easy. Getting followers might not be easy, but getting the message out is easy. Use your cell phone. So this has become the norm. So when you hire somebody and you're not leveraging their motivation to be whatever it is they want to be, and you're saying just do the job, you already diffused their momentum to do what they're doing, and they become survival. So I compare this to like someone who doesn't know how to swim. If they need to survive, they're just taking in just enough air to get not to die. And a lot of employees now in companies are coming to work just surviving. They're not really thriving or looking to move up. They feel like that's the enemy of what I want to do, so I'm just going to survive until I can do what I want to do. And that hurts our production, hurts our service, hurts our sales, hurts everything in between. So I bring that book together, long answer for a short question, but I bring that book together to give you an overview of how work has evolved since, the inception of it, and how our minds have evolved. And so then I give you the steps that Gen Z businesses are actually doing that are different than legacy businesses that actually are taking advantage of this new mindset. And it's amazing to see the speed to market that these Gen Z companies have had, which I didn't share, but I've worked with 4 different Gen Z companies that are valued over $1 billion each. And these are 23-year-old kids who have a $1 billion business that they started 4 years ago. Wow. That is a huge shift. I mean, I can't say names of them out of NDAs, but the concept of that is unheard of. And that's what I'm trying to get legacy companies to understand, not fight it, but what parts you can embrace so you can grow with it.
And we talked about discovering their why. So if you were a baby boomer boss and you're working with what you consider an entitled Gen Z, what's your coaching on how the boss can adapt to the strengths of the Gen Z and still get the productivity that he or she wants?
Well, Gen Z likes to be an informer. Right? They learn information quickly, then they want to disseminate that information to an audience. So instead of telling people what to do, ask them, hey, what would you do? How would you change this? I want you to learn this for the purpose of being able to show me what you would do differently. How can we speed this up? How can we move this market? I'll give you a great story. There's a company I was consulting with in Atlanta. The owner and I were standing at the front desk an employee was there, the receptionist. He was upset because he's paying a company for his SaaS. He's paying another company over, I think it's $1,000 a month to keep his website updated. And the employee, he was 20-something years old, he goes, hey, I can do that for free. I can show you how to do that. And the owner looked at him and gave him the really, really bad stink eye as like, what are you doing disrupting my conversation, and do your job. And that kid was gone in a month. And I told him, I said, that was your market right there. That guy could have saved you money. He could have gave you information that the company you actually are using won't tell you. And this is where I think we leaders could literally wake up and see what's going on. The knowledge they have on how to do things has never been done before. We as people want things to seem complicated so we can sell it and package it. But it's not that complicated anymore. Things move pretty fast.
What does a great client or a great audience look like for you?
I love humble leaders, people that don't say they're humble, but leaders that are humble, meaning they want to learn like they did when they first got started in their business. The success could actually be a damper on what you can do going forward because you lean off your past and you judge that past and determine your future. But like I said, we're on a different planet now. The air is different. The ability to do things are different. So I like leaders who want to do different things and are willing to test things out like scientists. Like, let's test it versus assuming it's not going to work and then leveraging past stories of why that is.
Julian, we're almost out of time. So final thoughts. What would you like to leave people with?
I just want to say, basically, I focus on subconscious. The subconscious controls, people say 90%. It literally is about 98% of who you are. You're judging me right now by the way I sound, what I'm wearing, You can't help it, but it's not the subconscious that matters. It's what you do about the subconscious. Are you aware of it? So I just want you to think about what you do from either if you're working for a company or if you own a company. Consider all the things you don't know, and then find somebody like me who's a bridge for you to help you get that information, and then experiment. Be willing to fail, because that's the only reason you're going to know what really works. And so that's my last message. I hope you take that, and maybe we'll talk.
Awesome. Thank you so much for blessing us with your wisdom and your truth. And I'm sure people will be reaching out to you. We're going to end with his website, which is pivot2change. Pivot2change.com. The great Julian Sado. Thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you very much.
You bet.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
That's it for now. We'll see you next time.